She was the sweetest little girl who did nothing wrong. She listened to her mom and dad. She always brushed her teeth. She was creative. She made things for us. She never got in trouble in school. Like, I just want to know what she did to be a victim.
A heartbreaking moment for a father who lost his daughter in Tuesday's mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, that left 19 children and 2 teachers dead. This is the faces of many of these victims here. This morning, many questions remain about how or why this shooting unfolded. Thanks for being here at 6 a.m. I'm Eric Connard.
And I'm Neda Iranpour. Investigators say the shooter had no known criminal history or diagnosed mental health history. Danya Backus joining us live now from Uvalde, Texas with the very latest. Good morning, Danya.
Good morning to you both. Investigators here are continuing to search for a motive. And while the investigation happens, we are learning more about the innocent young victims and the gunman's final moments. Officials in Uvalde, Texas are still searching for a motive in Tuesday's school shooting, but we are learning more about the gunman's final moments.
There was no known mental health history.
Governor Greg Abbott said the 18-year-old sent private online messages just before his rampage at Robb Elementary.
The first post was, "I'm going to shoot my grandmother." The second post was, "I shot my grandmother." The third post, "I'm going to shoot an elementary school."
The grandmother is recovering in the hospital. People who knew the gunman say he was antisocial and dropped out of school recently.
Really wouldn't think it'd be him either, especially, but at the same time I would.
21 crosses are now outside of Robb Elementary School to honor the 19 children and 2 teachers who lost their lives. While the investigation continues, residents of this small town are now trying to find a way to move forward.
She tried to grab her phone and call the cops.
Angel Garza takes comfort in the fact that his stepdaughter, A-Marie, tried to call 911 as the gunman opened fire in her class. But he isn't hopeful that things will change.
I just want my baby home. I don't care. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about...
In Washington, Democrats are pressing for new gun control measures.
We're cowards if we don't act. Cowards.
Though Republicans appear poised to block any legislation.
Any firearm is potentially dangerous in the hands of a deranged lunatic.
President Biden is expected to travel to Uvalde in the coming days. And as we learn more about the victims, we're also learning more about those who survived. We were able to talk to a second grader who was in a neighboring classroom. He told us that this teacher told him to hide behind desks and chairs and that they could pray. Eric and Nita.
Another tough day there, Danya. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. Well, this morning we are now hearing from a second grader who was in the classroom next door. Timothy Silva says his teacher reacted quickly, telling the children to hide, and then here's what happened next.
Well, we were scared, and the teacher started telling us we can pray.
She said you can pray. You were all praying together?
Mm-hmm.
And you could hear all of that?
You heard gunshots. I heard gunshots.
What did that make you feel?
Oh, it got me a little scared.
He's a second grader going through this. His mom waited for 40 agonizing minutes to find out that he was safe.
And this morning we are learning onlookers pleaded with police to charge inside the school as the rampage happened. A father of one of the victims told the Associated Press he was so upset that police were not moving in that he raised the idea of charging into the school along with other bystanders. There was a total of 40 minutes from the moment the gunman fired the first shot to when he was killed by law enforcement. One official told the Associated Press that Border Patrol agents had trouble breaching the classroom door and had to get a staff member to open it. Meantime, tensions are boiling over in Texas. Democratic candidate for governor Beto ORourke is blaming Governor Greg Abbott for what happened. In fact, he interrupted a news conference. Watch this exchange.
I can't believe you're a sick son of a that would come to a deal like this to make a political issue.
So that was the mayor of Uvalde, Don McLaughlin, that you just heard admonishing ORourke for standing up and interrupting it all. ORourke was removed from the school auditorium by police after that yelling match began. ORourke called the shooting predictable and accused Abbott of making it easier for people in Texas to get their hands on guns and assault weapons.
This morning, students all across the nation, they're planning walkouts to protest gun violence. The group called Students Demand Action, organizing this nationwide event to call on lawmakers to do something. The walkout is set to happen at 9 a.m. here Pacific time. So what are elected officials doing? Senator Chuck Schumer says he's open to including gun safety amendments into the domestic terrorism bill. That could come up for a vote as early as today. Meantime, some are urging President Biden to use his executive power. A legal expert we talked to says the president can issue an executive order on gun control, but it would be limited to changing existing infrastructure, like the way the background check system works. He would need congressional support for anything beyond that. Here in California, lawmakers are fast-tracking several new gun control measures. Now, among them, a law allowing private citizens to sue firearm manufacturers. Another requires school officials to investigate credible threats of a mass shooting. Another state bill would ban a business from using marketing for firearms that is attractive to minors. Governor Newsom says he will be signing over a dozen bills at the end of this month.
San Diegans are honoring the 21 lives lost in Uvalde, Texas. Dozens of people gathered at the county administration building here last night. Preschool teacher Melissa Hammond says this shooting hits close to home for her.
This is scary. I have lockdown drills with my kids. We practice what to do if someone comes into our building. It's not fair for them. They're just babies.
Yeah, my kids tell me about these lockdown drills that they do all the time. Many at the vigil told us they felt a mixture of anger, sadness, but they are hoping for an end to gun violence. Coming up here in our next half hour, some local moms giving us some candid perspective about how they're feeling right now after the Texas shooting. It's all coming up at 6:30.
And now this morning, an investigation underway into what caused this fire here. This was in Chula Vista. Look at this charred mess. It was before 3 o'clock this morning on Bay Boulevard, right outside the building of that former strip club known as Eye Candy. A lot of people complaining it looked like an eyesore, and now this is what it looks like. We told you earlier this week the abandoned property was set to be demolished this week. Before the strip club, the property was in fact Anthony's Fish Grotto, and the battalion chief with San Diego Fire telling us there are homeless people in that area, and that there was a lot of trash around the building, which does appear to be where the fire started. Nobody was hurt, and at last checked, fire crews have cleared the scene. People living in a homeless encampment now in unincorporated El Cajon, they have until today to leave that area. It's right along North Magnolia Avenue. We spotted Caltrans crews already clearing the area yesterday after months of complaints from people who live around there. It's all to make way for a parking lot where people will soon be allowed to sleep in their cars. It will also have on-site facilities and counseling available. The county is giving out housing vouchers to those in need of shelter while the construction for that parking lot goes on.
All right, it's that time of year when travel will really start picking up here as we get closer to the holiday weekend, and it comes as we are dealing with the high costs of gas, over $6 a gallon here in San Diego County. CBS 8's Chris Groh live over at the 805 in Normal Heights with everything we need to know here, and I've been debating whether I should go on a little trip, and yeah, gas prices are factoring into it here, Chris.
You know what's so funny, Eric, is that my wife and I were waiting to see if gas prices would go down before we leave this weekend, and now we're thinking about trying to take a plane to Phoenix where we're going. So, you know, we're trying to add up, see exactly what makes more sense, and honestly, driving still does kind of make more sense, even with gas prices at $6, which is in part why we're seeing AAA saying that we're going to see people driving this holiday weekend. In fact, that $6 mark still very much the average, even though it did drop from yesterday's average. So AAA says 2.6 million drivers will be hitting the road this weekend for a drive of 50 miles or more, and that's up 5% from last year. So how can you maybe make your gas last a little bit longer? Well, if you haven't already, make sure that you're doing your routine maintenance. Make sure your oil's been changed. Make sure that you're keeping your tires rotated and inflated. But then when you're driving, don't go too fast. Try to stay at the speed limit. Drive friendly, travel light, and make sure if you are going to be packing anything on top of your car, it's a little bit aerodynamic, because at the end of the day, people are excited to get out. The roads will be busy, so if you are driving, try to make it as easy as possible.
We're still anticipating some very busy freeways in Southern California starting Thursday and throughout the holiday weekend. And if you're having a staycation in San Diego, you'll notice a lot of extra people will be in town as well, because San Diego is one of the top 5 destinations for Southern California travelers.
Yeah, a lot of people coming into San Diego from LA and even up north of that. And we're also seeing people from Southern California going into Mexico, Las Vegas, and Phoenix as well, too. So those are some of those top destinations. So very clearly, people are willing to drive far, even with gas prices at $6 a gallon. Eric and Netta.
And Kristen, because we're going to likely be staying here, we're trying to figure out what our plans are going to be, and a lot of it revolves around the weather.
Yeah, the forecast, hey, it's going to be a cloudy one for most of the morning hours for pretty much every day over the next week or so. We run into those clouds in the morning, clouds break apart by the afternoon. Along the immediate coastline, we have views that will probably keep us pretty covered by those clouds. However, I mean, you can see what a beautiful sunrise we've still encountered for areas like Mount Laguna. This is what we're looking at when we face east. You've got those clouds that are filling your coastal communities and in many cases pushing inland, and still a beautiful view across most of the county, with those clouds expected to break apart, giving us partly cloudy skies between about 8 a.m. and noon along the immediate coast. Inland, you're already working with quite a bit of sunshine. Temperatures are expected in the upper 60s this afternoon, but walking out the door right now, we're mostly in the 50s out there. 56 right now in Poway, 59 in Del Mar, and 53 in Alpine, 48 in Ramona. Take the jacket with you as you walk out the door, and then in your Inland Valley locations, you should be able to take that off pretty quickly. Along your coastline, might want to keep it on with how many clouds we have joining us right now, and with those temperatures peaking in the mid 60s out there. As far as your traffic forecast goes, things are not looking too bad out there. We are seeing a lot of green on the screen, no major crashes according to CHP. Commute times in the 60 and 70 mile per hour range, not bad at all. We'll let you know if we start to see any slowdowns.